Okay, everybody, going to get started just shortly. Um, Today we have a very, very important topic that we have to talk about, which is smack in the middle of the Shema, as we are working our way through the Shema. Shema has a whole collection of different major mitzvot, but one of the most important mitzvot is the mitzvah of teaching our children. V'shinantam levanecha. Okay, so that's the middle of the Shema. So we're looking at the beautiful Shema prayer, the colorful Shema prayer, foundational prayer, Shema Yisrael on page 16. You could follow it. So in the middle of the Shema, on the third line of the Shema, it says, "B'shinantam levanecha," you shall teach your children. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear. Can you hear me? Thumbs up. Okay, very good. B'shinantam levanecha, and you shall teach your children. Just want to point out that, when the United States of America was founded, it was quite a religious country when it started out. In fact, people that came to America were mostly people who came because of religious persecution in other countries. So they came to the United States of America before it was even the United States. They came there to free themselves. So that's why America is based very much on freedom of religion. But even though they called freedom of religion, it was never meant to free people from religion. They were religious people. What they meant with freedom of religion was that everyone should be free to choose whatever religion they want. That means freedom of religion means freedom to be religious, not freedom from religious. People think that the First Amendment, all those things were put into place to free people from religion. America was never an atheistic country. It never was even an agnostic country. If you give a look at the founding principles of the United States, so everything in the Constitution, one nation under God, right? If you ever give a look at the dollar bill, it says, "In God we trust," and all the rest pay cash. But in God we trust. But this was an important principle that they found it important enough, that Rabbis talk about a lot of times. They found it important enough to put it on the dollar bill and some of the other coins. In God we trust. And there are many other. If you look at the dollar bill, it's very interesting. You find a lot of different things. It says, "E pluribus unum." From the many we make one. Unum again is the one God. This is the principle, the biblical principle of monotheism. E pluribus unum. That from the pluribus we make a unum. We make a singularity. In God we trust. So we see throughout one nation under God. See throughout that the founding fathers were very, very religious people. And in fact, they found many letters that were written from the founding fathers, amongst them Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams. They were people who knew the Bible backwards and forwards. Even like the Liberty Bell. There's a verse on the Liberty Bell. It's a verse from Leviticus, right? About the slaves that would be set free. So the freedom of the slaves, it mentions it on the Liberty Bell. So we see that this is a country that was built on the foundations of religion. But why am I bringing up this whole Maisa? They used to communicate with each other, the founding fathers. And I think it's in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to John Adams, or vice versa. There's a letter over there, and they write about, are you, and they ask each other, are you Deuteronomying? Are you speaking about Deuteronomy? You know what's Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy is the fifth book of the 5 books of Moses. And they speak to each other about the importance of learning Deuteronomy. Are you Deuteronomying or something? Like, are you discussing Deuteronomy? And then one of them tells the other in the letter. It's stuff you can look up in the history books. One says to the other that, if you read the book of Deuteronomy, you will find that there are 2 major principles that pervade that final book. One of them is to remember and never forget. Zachor. Remember, as Jews, we know that's a very important thing, to remember and never forget. You know, we used to think after the Holocaust, we used to say, never again, remember, remember. Well, gentlemen, ladies, we have a lot of need for remembering. So that's one of the principles that John Adams writes to Thomas Jefferson. Don't forget what it says in Deuteronomy, never to forget the past, because that's what history is. Yeah? It's not meant to be his story. It's my story, right? It's our story. History repeats itself. And if we forget, as the Torah says many times, lest you may forget. Remember, lest you may forget. One of the very, very big principles, and this is what the founding fathers were sending to each other. Let us not forget historical lessons. And let us not remember what happened in the past. Remember which the Amalekites did to you, it speaks in Deuteronomy. Remember what happened in Egypt. Remember the miracles that God did for you, the good. Have a good, keen memory. That's the first principle. The second principle, which is the principle of the Shema, and which we're going to talk about today. The second principle of the founding fathers spoke about is the generation to generation. V'shinantam levanecha, you shall teach your children. So we need to remember what happened in the olden days. But the second principle that they talk about is passing down the torch from generation to generation. Powerful idea. The importance of, like it says over here, and you shall teach your children. And you shall teach your children. Shenantam levanecha, teach them. Shivtecha v'yisecha, when you sit in the house. V'lechtecha v'derech, when you walk on the street. Uv'shachbecha, when you go to sleep. Uv'chumecha, when you rise up. So we're always studying Torah. And we have to teach our children the Torah. This is the second principle that they talk about. Teaching our children. It's never enough. Especially in this generation. We have such an important concept of passing on the torch from the previous generation to the future generations. Unfortunately, the young people today, they're learning a lot on their own from the lessons of life. And boy, do they see that what their parents said was actually right. A lot of the things that we taught them were right. They couldn't believe it. They say a lot of times about a teenager turns like 21 years old and starts talking to his parent. And he suddenly sees the parent knows a lot of things. Parent is very smart. So the young woman says, how did you learn so much in 1 year? You learned so much. How did you become so smart so quickly? Because when they were teenagers, they reject their parents. Everything the parents say is like, that makes no sense, right? They just right away, whatever the parent says is wrong. And then suddenly, at 21, they suddenly start talking to their parents. They say, they actually have something to tell me. They know something. How did they learn this so quickly? All of this knowledge and all of this wisdom. But this is the teaching of the Torah, is that we have to constantly be speaking to our children. It says, "V'shinanta b'vanecha, v'dibarta bam," and you shall speak of them. Now, when it says v'dibarta bam, and you shall speak of them, that's talking about speaking about the words of the Torah. God says it shall be these words, you take it upon your heart, and you shall teach it to your children, and you shall speak of them. But I saw a beautiful explanation is over the v'dibarta bam, and you shall speak to them. The mitzvah actually is to speak to the kids again and again and again. Sometimes we have a tendency, we teach our children, and we see no one's home, no one's listening, so we stop speaking. And then when they really need us, we gave up already on them. But that's Say a story again and again. They'll laugh at you, the kids. You're saying, always say the same stories again and again. But that's the Jewish way. Always teaching the message of the Torah and don't stop speaking. I remember my grandmother, she was an older lady. She lived in my house. And every time I went to her, she always told me the same stories again and again and again. And at that time, I was like, I was getting like a bit irritated. Bobby, I heard that story already. Like in my mind, I was saying, I didn't say it to her. I was very respectful. But I heard that story already. Word for word, I heard it. But years later, I thank her for it. Because those stories that she said again and again, they were like etched in my mind. And they became a gliding light for the way I live my life today. Probably more than most of the other things in my life. The stories, the Baba Mises, that my Baba said again and again and again. But I know them by heart, word for word. And they are. So Torah. Now people wonder, you go to the Torah, we go to shul every Shabbos, every year, they read the same story again and again and again. But stories that are who you are and are your heritage, you can't hear enough times. It becomes your language, it becomes your words, it becomes your life, it becomes your Weltanschauung, it becomes your hear it again and again. You know, there was once an old lady came to shul, and she hears the story again of Joseph being sold by his brothers as a slave. So the old lady says, last year I had mercy on Joseph. I felt bad for him. His brothers sold him as a slave. But this year, who asked him to do the same thing as last year again? He got himself in the same trouble. He should have learned his lesson from last year and not to taunt his brothers. Be sold as a slave. But when we go every year, it's like a new story. It's like the same story, but it's a new story. And it doesn't bother us if it's the same story again and again, because these lessons of Torah are lessons we have to constantly tell our kids, tell our children again and again and again, till it etches itself in our brains, in our minds, in our psyche, in our lifestyle. It's not boring. These are life stories. And every time we read them, we hear them, we find deeper and deeper in it. And that's the beauty of Judaism. It's the same stories again and again, same mitzvot, you hear it again and again, but it becomes part of who you are. It becomes a language of faith, This was one of the hostages. She just came out. Her name is Agam. So she came out. The first thing she had, a message for the people that go, and they came out with a message. She says, with faith I went in, and with faith I came out. Consistent. It's interesting. She particularly, she fasted on Yom Kippur. She prayed. She made sure not to eat bread on Pesach. She says that throughout, this is what kept her strong. Throughout her close over a year, in the close to 500 days. That's how long she was there. Quite long, 470, 80 days, whatever she was. This is what kept her. She went in with faith and she came out with faith. We were just in Israel and we were like blown away by the faith of the hostages, of the soldiers, of the injured, and we had an amazing trip. We went there and we brought love from you guys, love from the community on behalf of the community. We came to the soldiers and we told them that a lot of people in the diaspora thinking about you. Like one night we went on an army base We sponsored a barbecue for the soldiers, 150 soldiers. We brought music there. We danced with them all night. And we gave them not just hot dogs, we gave them steaks. Soldiers, they were so happy. Tell you, we brought them also gifts from the people. Everyone, people, we collected different items that the soldiers could use. We gave it to them. But one of the soldiers came over to me at the end. He says, "You think that you're just feeling good doing for us?" He says, "You have no idea how us on our army base, how we feel forgotten. We're here for like 100 days already, 200 days, whatever it is. And we feel forgotten. And the fact that you come onto the base and you come and bring us the food and the cheer and the mitzvot." And we gave out 20 pairs of tefillin when we were there. We primarily gave out gift cards. We gave out like $100 gift cards that they could go do shopping and everything. We gave them out to all the soldiers and they were in the hospitals. We also gave out tefillin. So we had many, many incredible stories. I can tell you stories every day, all day long. But we gave out. Yeah, we came to this one soldier. We gave him a pair of tefillin. His mother grabbed the tefillin. She says, "Wow, how did you know to bring him the tefillin?" I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "We think that it's tefillin that saved my son's life." So I say, "How could tefillin save his life? Tefillin doesn't walk, talk, no." She says, "Listen." And the son is sitting there. The son was terribly injured. I believe he amputated one leg or something, a terrible injury. And he was sitting right there. And he says, "Yeah, my mother's right. It's the tefillin that saved me." I said, what are you guys talking about?" So the guy starts telling us the story. He says, he was in Gaza. One day, a few days he had off. And he came home. And there was a Chabad shliach that was not far from him. And he knows him for many years. And he saw him there and he had nothing to do. So told him, he says, I want to set up a tefillin stand in a shopping mall, like a little tefillin place where people can go and make a bracha. In Israel, only in Israel, you can have it there in the middle of the shopping mall. You put a stand in the neighborhood. So he asked that soldier who was off a couple of weeks. He said, "Maybe you could give me a hand to set up the stand." So the soldier said, "Rabbi, you don't have to worry about it. I'll go to the shopping mall. Give me the tefillin stand, and I'll put up the tefillin and everything. I'll take care of it." So he went and he schlepped, and it was raining and it was hard. And he went there and he set it up beautifully, set up a tefillin for other people to be able to do the mitzvah of tefillin. The next day he went back to Gaza. And he went out and they're going in he would ride in a tank. He was like the second in control. He was the guy, I think, with the gun. And there's one guy that drives it, and I think he was the guy with the gun. I'm not sure exactly which role he had in the tank. But as they're going into this place, it's dark, and they hit a booby trap, and the whole tank exploded. And everybody passed away. He says he was the only one that survived. So he was thinking afterwards, like, what did he do? So he reminded himself that he helped out the rabbi the day before, something special that he did. So he says he thinks it's the tefillin that saved his life. And he showed me his left hand. His left hand was totally injured. His left hand was like in a cast or whatever, right? And he lost all his fingers besides the finger for the tefillin. There's the tefillin, you put in the middle finger, you put the tefillin on the left hand. So two of the fingers over there fell off, and the one finger that he has to put on the tefillin on, he showed me, "Look, Rabbi, that finger, the tefillin finger, survived." He told it to me. And he grabbed it with his other arm, he grabbed the tefillin and he hugged it. He says, thank you so much. You have no idea. I never had my own pair. I used to borrow a pair of tefillin. So now I finally have my own pair. He says, you finished my story. He said, you finished my story with the tefillin. Yes, you never know. Like you brought the tefillin, boom, this guy, and it the tefillin transformed his life. He believes it saved his life. Merit of a tefillin. Yeah, look, it's still a very sad story with all the other soldiers that blew up in the thing, and his arm is not so good or whatever, but still he believes. And the faith that he has, and it's so positive, and the mother and the sister, they were all standing around him. And they were all like really, and they believe that this is the message. Teach it to your children and pass it on. Because our belief is what keeps them going. And we had many, many other stories with the tefillin, with the gift cards, and with the. And we went all over Israel. We went to in the Gaza. We went down. I have many, many more stories to tell you, Mitzvah Shem, which I will share with you. But I'm going now, believe it or not, I'm going now to another bar mitzvah tonight in Chicago. So Goldie's brother's having a bar mitzvah, so I'm going there tonight. And I'm coming back tomorrow morning. So I'm like really a jet setter. Traveling the world. Yeah, so I'm going there for the bar mitzvah tonight. My nephew, my brother-in-law Bensi, his son, is having a simcha there. So I have to make a flight. I don't know what's with the snow going on now. I don't know, who knows what's going on outside. Mitzvah Hashem, I hope I make it there and I make it back because it's supposed to snow again tomorrow as well. So wish me good luck.
Good luck, Rabbi, and Mazel Tov.
Wish you good luck. Thank you for the shiur.
But I hope you liked my story. I gave you one story. I have many more stories to share with you.
Thank you.
But the takeaway for today is keep on teaching your children and keep them on passing it on to the next generation, and teach them about the faith and about the belief. And even if you get tired sometimes telling it to them, one day they'll listen to what you said. Like I heard my Bubba's stories. They'll hear your stories too. But the key is not to stop, not to say, okay, well, they're not listening to me anyways. No. They all turn sometime 21. Some people turn 21. Or sometimes it's when they turn 35 or 40 or 50. But at some point, they'll say, thank you for the message. Thank you for the message. The message of Deuteronomy, to teach it to your children. The one that Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were talking to each other about the importance of remembering the past and projecting to the future.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Beautiful. Thank you. Have a wonderful time. Safe travel.
What's that? I'm sorry, I can't hear all in one shot.
Sorry, always travel for Simchas, please God, and safe return. Enjoy. Mazel tov.
Okay.
Shabbat
shalom. Mazel tov. Shalom.
Shabbos.